Hello, happy Wednesday, and welcome everyone to today's live. I don't know why it always jumps like that. Have you guys noticed that? It's like far away and then suddenly my face jumps in. So I'm just going to step back a little bit. So today is week 2 of the birthday month specials, and today is 5x5 coaching. So I'm hoping that anybody who is joining me on the live has some questions to ask, any topic. I'm ready to go. Pop them in the chat box and we will do first come, first serve. Before we start, I just want to let you guys know, week 4, the 4th week in August, I had set up to do, next week. Shit, I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, in the 4th week, last week in August, I've literally gone blank. Oh, too funny. You guys have to bear with me now. What the hell did I call it? Choose a topic. Yes. So choose a topic was supposed to be on the 18th. I have somebody who has already told me what their choice is, and super awesome. They're going to actually be joining me live. So that's going to be super fun. Not happening next week as advertised, happening the last week, which will be on the 25th. I also asked you guys to nominate a friend for the Miserable to Marvelous course. Thank you, everybody who thought of other people. Those 3 nominations are in. I have chosen them, and those 3 lucky people are going to have access to the awesome Miserable to Marvelous course happening again at the end of August. So because we have an open week next week, I thought that I would let you guys choose what you want. And with that in mind, I have put a little poll with 3 different choices. So I'd love you guys, please, if you're on the live, to choose which one you want. For next week's live, we have the secrets of effective communication. And really what this came through for me, a little meditation on what the possible choices would be, is I've certainly learned of late that how we communicate our message will very much results in the response that we get. And very often we get stuck in our own belief and our own righteousness. And then we come across and we communicate our message and our story quite strongly. And often that backfires. So if that is sounding like something you would like me to talk about, then hit that option on the poll. Second choice is dealing with shame and embarrassment. So, very often things that we are ashamed about or that we're embarrassed about, we kind of keep within us, and it just festers. And what do we do with that, right? How do we share that? How do we transform it? How do we move past that? All right, that's option number 2. And then the third list, and this has been on my mind quite a bit for the last couple of days, is bucket list living. If you feel that you are on the hamster wheel, and how do you get off it? And how do you do what brings you joy? And how do you live this amazing life, right? So I've kind of called that bucket list living. And I'd love to share some of the bucket list items that I've managed to do in my life. So please head over. I'll keep reminding you guys during the chat today about clicking on those polls and deciding what it is that you want. Right. Super quiet today. What is this? Oh, here they are. Okay. New tip. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening. Every time they update the apps and the platform, it is super, super, super irritating. All right. So I'm waiting for, why is it saying restricted? All viewers. Might help if I open the chat box. If anyone's live, it seems like I had the chat box closed. So I don't know, it takes a couple of minutes to come through. So, yeah, I'll just chat to all of you until I have my first questions. So obviously, for those who follow me, I'm in the Southern Hemisphere, being South Africa, and I'm really excited for spring, which is happening in a week. Hi, Megan. I'm going to come to you 2 seconds. Thank you. And I just wanted to share that I know it's been so tough the last year. God, it's been so hard, but I don't know, I was just thinking of a stupid metaphor. That spring's around the corner, and that's life, right? It always changes. Okay, right. Megan, how do you move forward from a broken relationship? Oof, okay. Yeah, so that's something that, thank you. That's something that everybody can certainly relate to, because none of us are getting out of the human experience without a broken heart. So there's a couple of things that are coming up for me there. The first is, all right, and I actually just want to make a note here so I can come back to all of them. What's coming up for me immediately is ego and rose-tinted glasses. Okay. So the first, let me chat about ego first. Ego will tell us that, how dare you, basically. Ego will tell us, well, you should love me. How dare you not recognize how amazing I am and how awesome I am? And very quickly after that, it kind of degenerates into this deep feeling of inadequacy and rejection. Now, that feeling of rejection, I would say, is the hardest to get over. And from rejection stems, in fact, I was just talking about that, shame and embarrassment, stems all the other emotions as well. So we can respond with anger, with bitterness, with resentment, with embarrassment, with shame, etc. But that heartache, right, it has the feeling of deep, it attacks our self-worth. And I've spoken about this quite a few times. You know, we cannot get away from the programming that is the human being. And that programming is, we need to belong. We need to be a part of a tribe. And when we are rejected, right, when that relationship is over. In fact, let me just take back that rejection. It's not necessarily somebody breaking up with you. It could be, you know, the end of a relationship can take many different forms. Perhaps you left and the relationship was very toxic. So it doesn't really matter how the relationship ended it, who facilitated it. What matters is it hurts, all right? Ego is definitely going to play a part in it. And I'm going to cycle back to that. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was the rose-tinted glasses. I don't know why, but we glamorize the past and we glamorize the future. In fact, we live in fantasy. You know, if we're not conscious in our lives and conscious in our body and in our emotional body and our intellectual body, we just revert to fantasy, right? So fantasy is when we glamorize the past or are very embarrassed or stressed about the past, or in the future, we either catastrophize it, right, completely worrying about it, or in our imagination, we are this big, powerful, amazing person that has achieved everything that they set out to do. So that's kind of like the fantasy realm. And I've definitely seen this time and time again, and I am so guilty of it as well. At the end of a relationship, we look at it with rose-tinted glasses and we just blank out all the reasons why it didn't work. And it didn't work, because if it did work, you guys would still be together, right? So we look back with these rose-tinted glasses and we make the person and the relationship far, far, far better than it was. And then that kind of tendency that we have gets into conflict with our self-worth, our ego, with all of it. And then we get stuck, and you guys know what that holding pattern feels like. And some of us can move through it pretty quickly. Other people get stuck there for months, if not years, where we are pining over something and someone that actually wasn't that great. So to answer your question, Megan, how do you move forward from a broken relationship? It's about what you choose to focus on and what you choose to take forward with you. So you can take forward with you the illusion that it was wonderful and that you are, see, it's at the end of the day, it's loss versus gain. So when you are stuck in that remorse, in that sadness, in that broken heart, it's because you're focusing so much on the loss. And I really need to say this, very, very often that loss has been tainted by that rose-tinted glasses, right? So we need to take a reality check with ourselves and say, okay, this relationship has come to an end. Let me be really clear about how that made me feel. And maybe there are people watching today that had incredible relationships and the end of it really hit them with complete surprise. The reality of even that situation, you know, that takes two to participate, two to party. So bringing in that clear-sightedness to what the true nature of the relationship was, so that you're not focusing on the loss, but you're focusing on the gain. Now, the gain is where your conscious daily attention, even if you have to force yourself there in the beginning, needs to be placed. because before you know it, you wake up one day and you generally are in that good space anymore. So you can either be unconscious, where you allow yourself to retreat into that fantasy and retreat into the illusion of how amazing it was, or you take very conscious daily action on a daily basis, and you focus on the gain. And the gain is, and I don't know what it could be in the nature of a relationship, but it could be freedom, peace, authenticity. There are so many amazing things that you will be gaining when you have left this environment that actually didn't fit with you. So I'm a big one for separating our idea of what we are, right? Our perception of self and our perception of reality versus the true reality. And the true reality is we are living in a human body, and that human body has got very primal fundamental needs. It's got hormones, it's got these weird little automatic thinking patterns that go on, and we need to go in there and we need to adjust it for ourselves and be in charge of it, which of course is consciousness. So yes, focusing on the gain, not the loss. And then also understanding that we don't like change. Human beings fundamentally are not built for change. We hate change. So even if the change is good, it was a toxic relationship, it wasn't fulfilling, you weren't really that in love, you know what I mean? Like, even if it's great that the relationship actually ended, we are so attached to it because the ending of that means we have to change. We have to change our routine. We have to change how we spend our time, who we spend our time with, right? So this change, this extreme dislike for change also impacts how quickly we can move forward. Okay, so again, bringing the awareness that you are naturally resistant to change, and again, bringing that consciousness where you can say, well, this is a good thing. I get to now do things I want to do. I need to get to now spend time with people I want to spend time with, right? So it's very much loss versus gain. Okay, Megan's just sharing. Yeah, the ego is feeling hurt. And I do feel a huge loss. So, I mean, the ego, when we can recognize that it's ego, that's where the growth opportunity is. Because remember, every relationship, romantic obviously has the biggest impact on us, apart from parenting. But every relationship, whether it's your colleague at work, a family member, or of course, a romantic partner, when there's discord, when you feel that you've been unjustly treated, undervalued, whatever the case is, I mean, our ego is going to fight, because the ego is there to protect you and it's trying to protect you. But an unchecked ego will wreak havoc with you. And that's where we bring the consciousness in. So I hope that has helped. Yeah, reflecting on the gain. So this, I'm just going to carry on chatting a little bit more on this topic. So reflecting on the gain, I actually want to extend this to beyond a broken heart as well, because certainly, and in fact, I started talking about this live about spring is coming again and how tough the year's been, right? So it has been tough. It's been enormously tough, and we have all been pushed in every realm of our life. Whereas before, we would only really have to deal with difficulty in some sectors of our life, and it all kind of took turns where the drama and the shit was happening. Right now, it's just been like hectic. And when we go after something, and last week we were talking quite a bit about careers and work and trusting yourself and everything else. When we try for something and it doesn't work, whether we are trying for a new job, for a new career, for a new relationship, for a new hobby, doesn't matter. When we are trying something and it doesn't work, like that, it's the same form of rejection. It's the same form of loss that we experience that we do at the end of a relationship, right? And that tendency to internalize it and to judge ourselves. Fuck, we're so good at judging ourselves, you know what I mean? I have failed. I'm not good enough. I didn't do the right things, right? It just limits you and it keeps you stuck. And oh God, I'm just about to go to the most cliched of all cliched. I think it was Edison who said it. I didn't fail. I only learned what not to do 99 times, whatever. I'm misquoting him terribly. But that's the power of perception, because, and it's so easy to get lost in that sense of loss, you know, it's disappointment, it's a natural feeling, but don't get stuck there, because the gain, right? The gain in anything that happens in your life is readjustment, learning, growth, experience. And if you can place value on these and actually understand the value that these experiences have in your life, it's so much easier to move through the disappointments, through that ego fear when it raises its ugly head, and to be in a creative mode. Because when we are stuck in the loss, we are reacting, right? We are being unchecked. We are reacting unchecked. Our thoughts are unchecked. Our emotions are unchecked. And we're just kind of like stuck and riding the wave of misery, okay? And either that wave will just naturally eventually end, but who wants to waste months and months and years waiting for that to finish by itself? Or if we check it, if we bring consciousness in and deliberately choose to focus on the learning, to focus on the gain, we move past the challenges that much faster, and we move into a creative space that much faster, because then we can take action. If we are reacting, we can't take action. Whereas if we are in a creative, stable place where we have recognized what's going on within us physiologically, when we have recognized that our ego is bruised and it's okay, we will survive, and when we have recognized that there are still other options available. That just brought up another thought for me. So this feeling of dead end. So we've tried something. We tried for a new job. We've tried for a new, selling a new product, a new relationship, and it's failed. The end of it has come. We kind of then feel that what contributes to that feeling of helplessness and loss and sadness is that we feel we are out of options. And we are out of options, 100%, if you're in that mindset. Well, this is the end. I put my heart and soul into this, and now it's not coming to fruition. That's it. Whereas if we focus on the gain, we are literally opening up a world of future opportunities and possibilities that we can now choose again. And another thing that's coming up for me is a sense of forever versus temporary. And it's such a weird contradiction now that I'm saying it out loud. Sorry, now I'm going past my 5-minute thing here. That contradiction of we live in fantasy and we retreat to fantasy, and yet when something happens to us and we get stuck in that present moment, we just think, well, this is it, right? Okay, I'm stopping there. I'm moving on. All right, next questions. Oh, okay, this is a good one. The doctor stopped my antipsychotics, and this is a huge change. It's affected my mood and my attitude towards work. How do you separate? Oh, brilliant question. How do you separate real trauma from catastrophizing the little irritations? Okay, brilliant question. So what antipsychotics do is they, instead of having these big emotional and mental reactions, right, catastrophizing, as you mentioned, it kind of levels the playing field. Okay, so I don't want to use the word numb, but it just kind of, it does this to you, right? And anybody who's been on antidepressants or calming meds of any nature will understand this. Now you go off them, and suddenly your emotions and your thoughts and your everything is all over the place. So two things are happening. The first is there is a physiological response to the withdrawal from the drug, okay? Because obviously it's a drug, we become dependent on it. The body is massively lazy, and it likes to take the easy route, okay? Conservation of energy, we've spoken about this before. So when you give it a drug that it can rely on, it's going to rely on that. You've now taken that drug away, and your body has to relearn how to respond. Okay, let me take it away from the mental. So let's say you've got a really upset stomach, okay? And you take some form of pill, and while you're taking the pill, you've got absolutely no stomach cramps, there's no pain whatsoever. You stop taking the pill and those symptoms come up again. Okay, exactly the same thing, but of course in the mental sphere. Now, because our thoughts and our emotions are attached, even though you're taking antidepressants, obviously it is affecting both your emotional and your mental body. Now you stop taking them. So when I said that your body has to relearn how to respond, there is going to be a time period where that has to happen. Okay. But very specifically, how do you separate the real trauma? Okay. I'm going to say again what I said to Megan in the previous answer. We have to be conscious. We have to bring clear thought. We can't be passengers to our thoughts because that's just a nightmare. We have to bring clear thought and clear analytical thinking to what is going on. So very simply, sure, I'm feeling so overwhelmed by the fact that somebody queried where I'd put a file. Okay. And I'm experiencing this massive response, okay, because my body's still learning how to respond appropriately. Okay, now we bring in the conscious reality, analytical thinking. We go, hang on a second. All I've been asked is, where is that file? Now I'm feeling like I'm being shat on. I'm feeling like I am inadequate, and I'm feeling all these huge emotions. Is it real? Very simply, well, it's a file. Is that a catastrophe? No, it's not. Okay. Then I'm going to allow these feelings to move through me. And the more you can allow whatever is going on during this adjustment period, this relearning period, the more you can allow that to flow, the easier and the faster you will come back to equilibrium. Do not resist them. So as a very quick, simple solution, I would say as follows. Make a list of what when you're in a nice calm state, make a list of what you truly believe is a massive catastrophe. Okay. The death of a loved one, losing my job, losing my best friend, having some form of illness. All right, make your list of true catastrophes and have that with you. And then you can start referencing yourself and go, okay, is this real or is that not? And so that you can actively participate in your body relearning how to respond. And I promise you it will settle. Give yourself that time, but don't judge yourself, because you're going to add more stress and anxiety and self-judgment onto the top of all the other stuff that's going on during this relearning period. Okay, so analytical, conscious thinking, so that you can bring that into the awareness of what is going on. Okay. Boop. Last question. Great questions, guys. I'm loving it. How do you stay courageous enough to stay true to your values? Oh, that touched me. I literally just felt it in my heart. To stay true to your values, your ethics, and your beliefs in the face of not only disagreement and ridicule, but possible ostracism and even financial and social consequences. Wow. Okay. Seems to be a common thread in today's questions. Ego. So ego will say defend. Ego will say, I am right, you are wrong. Ego will fight. Okay. And there are a couple of different layers that's going on in this exact situation. On the one hand, there is normal moralistic societal agreed upon morals and values. If those have been attacked, let's keep it really simple. We can all agree that if somebody breaks into your house and steals your TV, it is morally and socially and ethically and legally wrong. Okay, so if you're experiencing things that we can all agree are wrong, right? There's that layer, because now you are even more justified to tell the truth and to fight for justice and to defend yourself. Okay, so there's that stuff that's going on. But I think the question here is, how do you stay courageous enough to say true? How do you navigate this? Okay. All right, so what I'm getting is it your responsibility to teach somebody else values and ethics? And can you? Because by that righteousness that we are experiencing, justifiably so, right? Even if it is so justified, if the world agrees that it's justified, why are you, okay, there's something else coming through, hang on. So let me finish that. Why are you fighting to get them to see your point of view? Why is it important for them to recognize you? Because that's really what it is when you're fighting. I need you to recognize that I'm right. I need you to agree that I am right. I need you to be remorseful so that I can feel validated. And this is probably one of the greatest challenges as a human, as a conscious human, that you all will face, because fucking hell, it's hard. I would say this, stick to your lane. Define your lane. And your lane is made up of these are my values, these are my beliefs. I do not need to get out of my lane and into your lane to try and convince you otherwise. I don't need to gain my validation outside of this. Okay, so I think it's about I want to give you a real practical takeaway in this quite important question. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a deep sense of wounding here, a very deep sense of wounding. So in like everything in life, we will be exposed to events and people and circumstances that we didn't ask for, we have no control over, we don't want, and yet there they are. Right, when life gives you lemons, okay? And our only true power and how we grow ourselves and how we solidify our peace and our sense of self and our power is when we choose how to respond to these outside events and these outside people. So how can you respond to this? And ask yourself, so this wounding that I'm picking up, it's why? There's a sense of rescuing. There's a sense of, I need you to give me my power back. Yeah. When you agree and when you admit to the wrongdoing, I will have my power back, which is why you are feeling powerless, which is why you're having to rely on the courage to push you through. Sorry, clarify on the question. What if it's not about getting someone to agree with you, but just to have the right to live by your beliefs? How do you avoid conflict? I hate conflict and I will avoid it to my detriment without rolling over and being forced to do things you don't agree with. Okay, so there's two different things there. On the one hand, you never have to agree to being forced to do things that you don't agree with. And the way to not be forced is to not engage. All right, you respond, and this is another thing I've learned recently within my own life. When we're in this kind of situation, we tend to jump the gun. We tend to jump to a response, jump to the justifications, to the clarity, to the actually that's not right, to the defense of self, to all of this kind of stuff. But the more you can disengage, which actually is taking your power back, there's a massive power thing going on here. And I think that's what the wound is. You know, being forced, rolling over, it's feeling like you are just the language there without rolling over. Somehow, somewhere, you are feeling deeply powerless. And you are fearing that if you stick to your values, the outcome of that is that you have rolled over. So again, it's a sense of power. It's who is viewing you as rolling over? Is it them? Is it you? And avoiding conflict. So I get that. No sane human being likes conflict. But there's a difference between standing firm, speaking your truth without fear of repercussions, okay? And being quiet to avoid conflict. And you're kind of telling yourself you're avoiding conflict, but is it because you're just feeling powerless? I'm picking up this massive feeling of powerlessness. And that powerlessness doesn't come from them. It doesn't come from the event outside of you changing. It doesn't come from any of that. It comes, and weirdly enough, this is reflecting quite strongly with myself at the moment, but it comes from disengaging from the illusion. I feel like you've been embroiled in an illusion because they've had the power. So they've been spinning the story, they've been spinning the events, they've been spinning the path, right? They've been in charge of it. And you've kind of been allowed yourself to be taken away with that. Of course, you're going to be feeling powerless. So coming back to that, stay in my lane. This is my lane. This is my life. This is what I will give my energy and time to. If whichever the person or the event happens to come into I will deal with it then, firmly knowing that it actually can't affect me that much. And there's this massive worry that's going on as well. There's a lot here, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm being clear. But the big feeling for me and the big takeaway is, where are you putting your power? Yeah. This, okay, ridicule. So again, it's coming back to that, and it hurts because we're tribal beings, right? We don't want to be ridiculed. We don't want to be falsely accused. We don't want to be attacked. Again, no sane human being would ever want that. But when we allow it to hurt us, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words fucking hurt way worse. It's because we have opened ourselves, right? We have given our power away, and we have unconsciously agreed with them. Here's the, okay, good. I finally found some clarity to give to you. What are you unconsciously agreeing to? Are you unconsciously agreeing to their story? And what is their narrative that you are unconsciously agreeing to? I'm worth less. I am and somehow deserving of being ridiculed. I am somehow deserving of, okay, so there's an unconscious agreement of their narrative that is taking place. And that's where that power seepage is coming. Okay, I hope that sparks something with you. What are you unconsciously agreeing to in their narrative? Yeah. Phew. Okay. Amazing questions, everybody. Thank you so much for your courage, for coming live and sharing. And I hope everybody's watching. I know our human lives, we can all relate and somehow to this. Massive gratitude to all of you. Massive. And thank you. Together we become wiser and stronger and more whole and more forgiving of our human selves, right? We're all figuring it out together, and we're all here to love and support each other. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who joined on the live today. Here, massive high five. Boom, 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 boom. I will see you guys all next week. Oh, the poll. Guys, if you're still live and you haven't done the poll yet, where's my poll? Oh, fuck yes, bucket list living. I'm so happy. Yay. I love that. And I actually had a feeling that everyone would choose that. Awesome. All right, next week, bucket list living, because you know what, as much drama and mayhem and broken hearts and trying to get off our fucking meds and everything else, life is still incredible. And let's just keep our perspective jointly on the game. And the game is, we will always have the power to stand up again and keep loving and keep growing and keep being awesome. All right, everybody, thank you so much. And I will see you all next week. Bye.